Welcome back. Welcome back to the Hour Back Report, episode 12. Our last recording of the 2025 part of the calendar of the basketball season for the listeners and the viewers. This is the first episode of the 2026 calendar year. I'm Jordan, joined by Jamie and Jack. Boys, how are we doing today?
Feeling good after the dub last night. Perfect way to end the year.
Yeah. We're big fans of the honorary Wednesday episodes. We keep them coming. Although, I mean, I guess this is technically still a Wednesday episode because it's going to go up on Wednesday. But no, it is Wednesday. I'm a mess. The holidays threw a wrench in my brain. I've had too many off days from work. This is not my way of asking my boss for more work. This is just my way of saying that.
Kind of sounds like you want more work.
It does not. I promise. It does not. It's not that. I swear to God. But yeah. So I know we all predicted the 3-0 stretch for the Celtics. That did not happen. They only took 2 of 3. I knew I should have played contrarian and gone 2-1. I knew it. That's on me. So that loss is actually going to be attributed to me. And not just despicable clutch time play. But anyway, we are getting ahead of ourselves. We got the second half of the home and home with the Indiana Pacers, where the Celtics absolutely annihilated Indiana by 18. That score is closer than it really was, in my opinion. This was never I mean, I guess the first quarter really was in favor of Indiana, but after the second quarter, the Celtics basically put that shit to bed. Jack, what were some of your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, I was expecting a Celtics blowout, especially after how close the game at TD Garden was and how much better this Celtics team is than this Indiana team, with Halliburton out for the year and losing Miles Turner, and Nesmith still isn't back. Like, this is a very diminished group you're facing with Indiana. And I just felt like after that close game, they were kind of just going to put their foot on the gas and annihilate them. And they did. I mean, Pritchard and Jaylen played great. And White still got to 20 points, even if the efficiency was a little shaky. But I'd say like the key thing, honestly, was Sam Hauser was making like every shot he took. And Hauser's been kind of going through it as of late. So like if that kind of gets him right, because I know either last episode or the episode before, we were kind of talking about Hauser as being like a contract you will have to attach assets to get rid of. And if he's, shooting 88% from 3, that's not going to be what happens game in, game out. But if he's a mid 40s guy, which he is capable of being, or even like right around 40, that becomes an asset you could move.
Yeah, I really wish he would pick a lane here, because he's either lighting up the world, like you said, 7 of 8 in the Pacers game, or he's 1 of 5 like he was against Portland. And it's like really been the frustrating thing about Hauser. And I guess to a degree that's kind of been his whole career. Like he'll shoot 40% from 3, but he'll have like a 2 or 3 week stretch where he shoots like 55% from 3. And then he'll have like a 1 week stretch where he shoots like 25% from 3. And then he'll go back on, and like he's obviously hotter than he is colder, and that's why he's always, a high efficiency 3-point shooter. But this year especially, I feel like it's like 3 games where he doesn't miss at all. And then it's like 5 games where he couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat. But yeah, to your point, the Indiana game was very, very nice. 7 of 8 from 3. And then to make matters worse, like I said this last episode, I feel like it's an on-again, off-again relationship I have with Anthony Simons, where it's like 1 week I want to trade Hauser, the next week I want to trade Simons. And then, at the beginning of the year, it was like, oh, maybe you trade Derek White and you extend Simons. He's cheaper. You cut payroll. You get younger, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, now this is the week where Anthony Simons is the GOAT again. And I'm like, I'm like, get this man out of here. Like it's a mess. But Jamie, what were some of your takeaways from this one with Indiana?
Kind of same as Jack, and I feel like this was a game that you knew they were going to dominate. It was good to see all the stars. I think Walsh was the only one who didn't have a steal, and Jaylen led the way with 4. So it's good to see all the starters kind of chipping in defensively. We got extremely efficient night from Garza with 27 minutes and 15 points. I feel like that might be probably like one of his best performances as a Celtic. So it's good to see kind of the bench chip in and just them not take the foot off the gas defensively, because they could have gone to that game being, this game we should win by a lot. We can easily kind of skate by, but they dominated from the start, which was nice to see.
Luka Garza is a fun player. I've decided.
He's grown on me a little bit. Like the love-hate thing, I feel like some nights I'm like, I can get behind this, and then other nights it's like, I do not want to see you on the court for more than 2 minutes.
That's pretty much it. And I've decided that for some players it's just fun to have that kind of viewing experience. And Luka Garza, I think, is going to be that guy for me, where it's like that whole it's almost like a playful banter, but like I'm the only one bantering because he's just playing basketball and I'm yelling into the abyss at him when he can't move, but also grabs 6 offensive rebounds a game. And then, has a game where he goes 5 of 5 from the floor overall, 1 of 1 from deep, 15 points, 4 boards off the bench. But of course, 2 of those are offensive. I don't understand him, and I've decided that I love that about him. What do you think, Jack, as somebody who was also traumatized by Luka Garza minutes against Utah when we were at that game?
Yeah, maybe it's just that visceral being in the building and watching it happen thing. I think obviously what you're seeing with Garza is there are situations where he is I don't want to use the word valuable. That feels too nice.
You also don't want to use the word good because that's even nicer.
Yeah. There are matchups where he's playable. And you see it in that sort of game, especially against an Indiana team where they've lost a lot of the guys who allowed them to play the way they played throughout the past couple seasons, which was super up-tempo, super aggressive. And now it's like without Halliburton pushing it, they don't have Miles Turner down low. It's like they're a shell of themselves. And against a team that's this untalented, Luka Garza just standing there can just grab rebounds and put the ball in the basket. And he doesn't have horrendous touch. So like it's playable, but then you see, in other matchups, it's like they didn't really want him on the court at all against Portland, which, because Portland's a much more athletic team that is going to exploit that sort of thing. You very clearly still need to add a big man. Like this guy cannot be your actual backup option if like your goal is get Tatum back and see if you can pull something off. Like your big minutes can't be Keita and Garza. And so you're going to have to do something. But could he factor in certain matchups in a way that, we've seen both with Brad and with Joe, like certain guys kind of get used against certain teams in certain situations? Yeah, I don't want to just dump the guy for nothing, but I also don't think he should be, expected to be a regular contributor.
Yeah, it's so weird to me trying to like figure out. And maybe I'm over analyzing on a week-to-week basis here with this team, because it's like, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we were talking about how they should go get Zubats or Claxton. And then like last week, I'm like, what about Jay Huff? And it's like such a stark contrast to the kind of player we were talking about before. And it's like, if Garza is somebody that you can use in some matchups, is it better to have kind of a big that's like the polar opposite of him that you can use in other matchups? Which is why Jay Huff in a way makes sense, because he stretches the floor. He's like, I would say probably more like Cornette, if Cornette still could shoot threes or still did shoot threes. But I guess that would be kind of the point of having Boucher, but he hasn't played since 1912, and obviously he's missed the last few games due to personal reasons, but like I don't want to poo-poo whatever's going on behind the scenes, because obviously I hope everything's okay with him. But it's not like he would have played anyway, because those matchups where Garza wasn't playable, it's not like Boucher was getting those minutes anyway. Tillman doesn't even get those minutes, and he was a DNP coach's decision in this one, as he always is, as was Josh Minot, who's like now in the doghouse, it appears. He did have kind of a really rough stretch of play leading into this week, but and Joe's always screaming at him, and he did not play in this game at all, even after the Celtics got up by a shit ton. So Ugo also only played 12 minutes, only got a rebound and an assist. But yeah, they beat the shit out of Indiana, and that's always nice when you take care of business, because it's one thing to kind of get dicey with them once, especially because of how bad they are, but to do it 2 games especially in a row, like, please be serious. But alas, any final thoughts before we go into this debacle of a Portland game?
I mean, I'm not ready for the debacle. It's gonna be a very depressing part of the segment, but
Yeah, but at least it was game 2, and then we'll still have game 3 to talk about. But yeah, game 2 of this stretch against the Trailblazers in Portland. You know, this is Peyton Pritchard's, like, this is where he goes off. Typically, he did not in this one. 3 of 10 overall, 3 of 8 from 3, 9 points in 38 minutes. He was not good. Derek White was not good. It was really Jaylen Brown and a prayer. Although Cade, I guess, was fine. Ugo was good off the bench, played 30 minutes. Jordan Walsh only got 10 minutes in this game, but not a very good showing overall. End up losing this one by 6. Jack, what were some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is just like a kind of shitty loss. And there aren't really many good things to point at when you look at, how they played, which is that Jaylen played well and he's been playing well all season, but you're going to need production elsewhere. You can't just have Jaylen in a prayer, especially on the road. I know Portland isn't a particularly good team, but they have NBA players up and down the roster at least. And some of them are hurt. Obviously, Drew didn't play. But, you're facing a lineup that, they have athletic guys who can play 2 ways. And when you run into Kamara and you run into Shaedon Sharp and Klingon, like they're all talented players who are only.
He didn't even mention Denny Avdia either.
Right. Which, like, I've seen him cook the Celtics on many occasions. I think he's someone who will be rising the ranks of Celtics killers. Luckily, he's over in the Western Conference. We don't have to see him that often.
For now.
If he stayed in the East, he could have been on that, like, Karis LeVert, Chris Middleton pipeline of, like, oh my God, get him away from the Celtics, please, because why is he always so good against us? But yeah, I mean, they have a lot of good players, even if the results haven't been there. And once again, you get nothing really besides Jaylen. No one could really shoot. White shot 2 of 10 from 3. Pritchard 3 for 8. Hauser 1 for 5. Like that's not going to cut it when this team lives and dies by the 3 and no one's hitting their threes and the other team is hitting their shots. You're generally going to lose.
Yeah. Jamie, what were some of your thoughts on this one?
So the second half was rough. I mean, 22 points in the third quarter, 23 in the fourth, and Portland had at least 30 or 31 in the third and 20 in the second. So defense was just not being played, and you couldn't shoot to save your life, especially when you're not making threes to make life 10 times harder. So I just felt like it was a really inefficient night from everyone except for Jaylen. And then the second half, it was just wheels started to come off, which you don't want to see against a team like Portland, but just felt like those last 2 quarters were just not good basketball to see.
I'm really wondering what's going to end up happening with Anthony Simons. Because it's like he'll go through these stretches, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know many Portland Trailblazers fans because I'm unsure they exist to begin with. But like, I mean, we're also on polar opposite sides of the country, so it's not like I could just run into one at Stop and Shop, free advertising. And like friend of the pod, Stop and Shop. It's not like I could run into. It's not like I run into Blazers fans on the reg here. So Is this just who Anthony Simons is? He just started, so he scored more? Like, I don't know, or like he had more opportunities to like shoot his way out of slumps because I mean, I feel like he'll have like 2 week stretches again, like kind of to the Hauser point I made earlier. He'll have these stretches where it looks like it's really starting to click for him off the bench and he's like really settling into that 6-man role. And then he completely shits himself 2 games in a row. Like he was bad against Indy, even though the Celtics won by 18. And then he was again not good against the Blazers. And like you'd think they traded him. He's back where he began his career, where he spent the first 7 years of his career. And 4 of 11, 2 of 6 from 3. He was a minus 15 in a game you lost by 6 points. And it's not like he was going up against Drew. Like Drew didn't play. And he's going up against Caleb Love, who would again, as an ASU guy, I've seen Caleb Love light up, my Sun Devils before. So it's not like I'm unfamiliar with Caleb Love's game. This is who he is. He chucks up shots and sometimes he goes nuts, sometimes he doesn't. But it's not like he's going up against, all world defender.
Is Caleb Love the Stetson Bennett of basketball?
Well, no, because Stetson Bennett never played.
That's fair. That's
NFL.
fair. But it's like Caleb Love was in college for so long. It was like this guy just it was in college basketball for.
He just oozed eligibility years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in college for a long time.
Especially with how prevalent one and dones are in basketball. I think you notice it even more versus in football. You generally are playing 3 or 4 years, so unless you get comically long periods like Stetson Bennett, you're this is normal. Or I guess Carson Beck now. But with Caleb Love, you really felt it because it's shouldn't you have declared by now?
He should be ready for his second contract, and he's an undrafted rookie. And I think him being undrafted is also pretty crazy too. You'd think somebody in the second round would see somebody who has that kind of scoring potential and be like, why not?
Well, I think it's because we've gotten so age pilled in the NBA draft, and I think in many respects it's been overthinking it in the sense that guys who are a year or two older are being undervalued because they're a year or two older, and they're oh well, they have less potential because they're a year or two older. But if they're better, they're better. We saw
he's 24. It's not like he's Brandon Whedon,
right?
He's a 30-year-old rookie.
When Jaime Jaquez came out of UCLA, it was a situation where it's this is clearly a ready to play, productive NBA guy. But teams are oh well, he's 21 or 22 or whatever he was at that point in time, and we'd rather get an 18, 19-year-old because there's more room to grow. A lot of those 18, 19-year-olds will never actually be good at basketball. It's Jaquez is really good at basketball, and Miami, being a smart organization, took advantage of that. But it's teams are so obsessed with getting a young player where they're athletic and there's potential. A lot of those guys never are good at basketball.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you get to that point of the draft too, it is really a crapshoot because the Celtics have done both of those things in the last 3 years. Because they went with Walsh, who was the athletic room to grow player, definitely more of a projectable asset. I mean, then again, they were a loaded veteran roster. They didn't need anybody to plug into the system. But then they go to Baylor. And that whole thing's been very hit or miss, especially with his shooting and his playing time. He doesn't really play a whole lot. He'll get 5 minutes randomly thrown in there, and he'll either make a couple shots or he won't. And then they go back to Ugo, who is that other super young overseas guy, comes in, athlete, has played pro ball for a while overseas, and he looks fantastic for the most part. But so I guess it's not a guarantee, but like you said, sometimes you just, watch basketball and you're that guy's pretty good and you draft him. But you think more
this year is a great example of it as well, where it's you saw Cockburner at Creighton. It's this guy is going to be at minimum a serviceable NBA big. And when you see like all the darts that get thrown at big men during the draft, most of whom, once again, are never going to play above 10 minutes a game. When you have a guy who you know can at least play 20 and not suck, you should probably consider taking the guy.
I mean, unless I'm misremembering, but I know Klingon went in the top 10, but wasn't he another guy that kind of fell a little bit further than people thought? Like that people were like,
Klingon was
he's
the best
probably a
player on
3
the
or
best
4.
team.
Yeah. People were like, he's probably like I mean, obviously being the best player on the best team doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player in the draft. But like, I remember seeing a lot of people being like, he's a top 3 or 4 player in the draft. And, he's still, I mean, again,
And that was a
7's not like a
terrible draft.
ridiculous fall. Yeah. And it was a bad draft. But like, it's not like he fell crazy into like the 15 to 20 range, but I mean, like still going from 3 to 7, it's an expensive drop for sure. Maybe people saw Baylor Shireman and got scared. Although no, they were the same draft, right? So like that doesn't even matter, right? Because Baylor was also 24.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that there's been your draft few minutes. But Klingon killed them in this one, and I guess that's kind of my roundabout way of bringing this back to the Celtics game as well. Klingon absolutely murdered them, and they went small late. And I feel like it's kind of odd when they go small because again, Minot was a DNP coach's decision. The small lineup to me works when you have your freakishly athletic wings playing, like Walsh and Minot on the floor at the same time, because they're both psychotic and they'll play like they're 7 feet tall, even though they're not. But when you don't have both of them on the floor, it's kind of difficult to go small. Like you try to go small with Ugo, and like love Ugo, activity level off the charts. He's going to get bitched by Donovan Klingon, and he did. And like that's what sealed the game late was, obviously the turnover from Derek. Then they had the they had the turnover by Jaylen because Derek White was adamantly trying to set a screen and force Jaylen into a double team. That was a foul. Then the backcourt violation on a shitty pass from White, and then they cut it to 3. They get a miss. Klingon is just 2 times the size of Ugo Gonzalez, gets the offensive rebound, put back, and 1, game over. And that, unfortunately, is just kind of how it goes when you have a dude who may as well be a toddler up there against Donovan Klingon on the defensive glass. Unfortunate. But it is what it is. Celtics fall to 19-12 and 9-7 on the road with that one. The Blazers up to 13-19, 6-9 at home. Again, no Drew Holiday. Or Dame, obviously, or Rob, or Jeremy Grant, or Matisse Thybulle. Just, the entire team. The entire established, like, veteran presence of that roster, not there. Still beat you. But anyway, we move on. Unless anybody has any more thoughts. No.
Kamara is so good. I wish the Celtics had that guy.
What would you give up for him if he was on the table?
I mean, I don't know how you would get the money there because I think he's 20 million even on the extension.
Do you want Simons back?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, if we could do that, I will drive Simons not just to Logan. I'll take him all the way to Portland. I'll go on a cross country road trip.
We're gonna do the pod from some random place.
Hand delivery of Anthony Simons back to the Trailblazers to Tiago Splitter. Maybe Tiago didn't want to trade him, and that was a Chauncey thing. It's possible.
It is. You never know.
But it's the way that guy plays on defense is a 3-point shooter. I loved that extension when I saw the news of it. I'm like, that's a really smart contract for Portland. And he's only going to continue to get better. And it's this is a really, really good role player.
The Blazers are kind of building something nice over there. Like, it doesn't look like it from a record standpoint, because again, they're only 13-19, but you can't help but wonder, if guys were healthy I think they were at one point this. I mean, it's still relatively early in the season. We're like a quarter of the way through, or maybe a third at this point. But they were like the 6th seed at one point. So it's not like they've always been this bottom feeder of a team this year, and they just happened to beat the Celtics. Like, they're a talented group. They're building something nice over there. I'm curious to see when they decide to get aggressive and push some chips in for a star. We're probably like 2 or 3 years away from that. But like you mentioned, like the Kamara signing, the Kamara extension was a very good one. But like
And the Sharp extension as well.
The Sharp extension, they've got Avdia. Like, at some point they have assets. They obviously have draft capital to go and push the chips in forward for a star. And like, we'll talk about Trae Young probably at some point. I'm just saying, I'm not using him as like that's who the Blazers will trade for, because they had Anthony
Trae
Simons.
Young and Drew Holiday backcourt would be like the funniest like duality of player ever.
I would pay to watch that. That would be an entertaining process.
Drew would probably end up, because they have to make the money work. Drew would probably end up going to Atlanta, and he can go re-team up with Kristaps. Yeah, so I don't know what their relationship was like, but hey, who knows? But well, yeah, like I said, we'll talk about we'll probably touch on Trae Young a little bit at the end.
Drew, they could have Porzingis, and they have a Jaylen.
They
It's not
do.
the same Jaylen, but they have a Jaylen. Like, they could do something.
They could. They definitely could. But anyway, final game of this 3-game stretch. We got the Celtics against the Utah Jazz. And for a little bit, the Jazz did hang in there pretty much the entire game. I mean, only won by 10. And they were down 7 after the first quarter. Jamie, I'll kick it to you. What were some of your takeaways from this one?
Your favorite player had a decent game with this one, with dropping 20. Simon's going 6 of 15, 4 for 10 from 3. I mean, it's good to see them kind of push back in the second half after the Portland debacle and just that horrible basketball there. It was good to see more balanced approach too, with White getting 27, Jaylen 23, and kind of having everyone chipping in. I was impressed how they turned it on in the second half with 40 points in the third, 30 in the fourth, and just kind of dominated at the end. I know it's a Jazz team that has 12 wins, so it's not like it's a hard team to dominate. But it was good to see that after kind of disappointment with the Portland game, and just kind of see guys get back on track on a game that you kind of needed to win, especially if you're losing 2 straight to Portland, then Utah would not have been a good thing to end the year going to 2026.
I just realized the Jazz have played 19 of their 32 games at home. They are just always playing home games.
It's not working out.
No, I mean they're 8-11 at home now. So I mean, it's not like they've been horrible at home, but yeah. My favorite guy to hate on, Lauri Markkanen, only 6 of 16. Absolute cinema. I decided I hated him randomly during the game when the Jazz came to Boston. I think it's because I decided that, or I didn't decide, but I've noticed that he's like one of the only star players in the league, and maybe I guess star is kind of thrown around a little too loosely nowadays, but who, like, it doesn't, like, nobody cares if he wins anything. Like, he's constantly getting his like 25 and 8, goes home with an L, and it's like, all right, same time tomorrow. And he did that. I mean, he somehow found his way to 22 and 9 in this one. And you know what? They lost. And nobody cares.
Same time tonight.
Same time tonight
for the Utah Jazz. Probably another home game.
Back at home too, to build on that record.
Are they really home again tonight?
That would be really funny. Are they?
They don't play tonight.
No, they're on the road at the Clippers tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So they finally get a road game mixed in there. But yeah, you're right though, Jamie. My favorite player did pop for 20. But I do think, not to go back on a Simons rant, it's not going to be a rant, I swear. Quick point. Not everybody's meant to be a bench player. I just don't think he's a bench player. But I think he has to be on this team, which, like, not to again contradict what I've been saying, what I said last episode, he's probably should get traded in February. Now, what can you get for him? That remains to be seen. We'll probably talk about that more in depth when we kind of have an understanding of what teams are definitely selling players. But he's got it. He's probably not long for here. It's become clear, even though he had a good game in this one. But it is Utah. Jack, what are some of your thoughts from this one?
I mean, to me, there's one clear reason that the Celtics were able to win this game. No Kevin Love. The Kevin Love hunting of Luka Garza did not occur in this basketball game, thank God, because that could have closed a 10-point gap easily. Kevin Love's eyes lit up every time Luka Garza was on the court. But I mean, to me, I think the big things were that Simons did play really well in this game. He was a plus 27. So he likes Utah, clearly. Maybe Utah likes him.
Not to cut you off.
Yeah.
The very funny possibility of Simons getting traded for Lauri Markkanen just occurred to me because I think salary-wise they're not that far apart.
Yeah, and obviously you need to attach things, but like
Hauser too.
Yeah, I would do it.
I would do it too, but I just realized that I decided that I hate this man, and he's gonna find a way to be a Celtic.
But yeah, I mean, the other big thing I think was Derek White. Even though the shooting still wasn't great, he was 2 for 10 from 3, 7 boards and 7 blocks, and putting up 27 points. You know, maybe this, and I feel like I say this like twice a month at this point. Is this finally the Derek White is awake and is going to like be usual Derek White from here on out? And I'm optimistic. Yeah, new year, old Derek. So fingers crossed on that. He also got bitched by Nurkic, which that was frustrating watching Nurkic just score at will. But like I know it ended up not really mattering because you won the game. But can we have somebody stand there and stop Yusuf Nurkic, because that's kind of embarrassing.
After he gamed you in Boston, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, is he the antidote for this team? Like,
do the Celtics have to acquire Yusuf Nurkic to make sure that he doesn't end up on an Eastern Conference opponent?
You know, the Knicks are like, we need Nurk.
They will, because they did the Nova Knicks, then they blew them up to get Cat. That still wasn't good enough, and they still look like they're missing something. And instead of getting Giannis, they're going to see what Nurkic has done to the Celtics and pivot there. And they're going to trade Mitchell Robinson to Utah, and they're going to get Yusuf Nurkic, and he is going to predictably be very bad for them, because that's the only way a Knicks trade can work out, is the worst possible way.
Unless it's Jaylen Brunson, which has
it's Brunson.
Yeah.
And that was more because the Dallas Mavericks can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. Now the discourse about Luka is starting to make me think that maybe we're going to look back on that trade a little bit more fondly from the Dallas side of things. And maybe Cooper Flagg being there is helping that a lot, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Anyway. Also, Keontae George went for 37 in this game. That needs to be
another Celtic killer, clearly.
Yeah.
Garza for him, straight up.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Garza did shoot more efficiently in this one than him. He was 6 of 8. 15 and 6 for Garza off the bench. He makes no sense. I love it so much. I say that now, but then when he has like a stretch of 5 games in a row where he's bad, I'm going to hate him again. And then I'll have to remind myself that I actually love this part of him. So hopefully they make a trade for a big soon, so that this contradiction can end relatively quickly. But yeah, it would be nice to see Derek White pop for an extended stretch of really good play. And to think if he shot 2 of 10 from 3 in this one and still was 8 of 16 overall, 27 points. It feels kind of weird to say he was close to a quadruple double because he only got into double digits in one category. But like 27, 7, 6, and 7 is ridiculous for a guard. Like, that's stupid. Phenomenal performance. Jaylen's 30 points, 30 point streak is over at 10 games, tied the Celtics record with Larry Bird, who did it 3 years in a row, I think they said, when he did it against Portland. And yeah, so we'll see how long it takes for that streak for him to form a new streak. But yeah, a nice balanced effort. Pritchard at 18, another bad night from him from 3 as well, though. I don't know. At some point they're going to start firing from 3 like consistently, and I really do think it's just Tatum coming back. Just the gravity he has, because like now Derek White doesn't constantly have to shoot threes off the dribble. Pritchard can spot up a little bit more. I mean, catch and shoot is a lot easier than constantly taking step backs or rushing threes, like going around screens or heaving live grenades that Jaylen throws your way. But that wasn't meant to sound like a shot at Jaylen. It's just I feel like a lot of times Derek ends up having to launch a deep 3 with like 3 seconds on the shot clock. But anyway,
I can't wait for that first game. Tatum's back and they'd make like 20, 33s just because of how much easier, and they just drop like 140 or something.
I saw a TikTok and it was a question that was like very like generic and not like something that like broke my brain, but I hadn't quite computed how loud TD Garden's going to be when he hits that first shot when he comes back.
Yeah.
Like the question was not just is the NBA ready, not just are like Celtics fans ready. Is the city of Boston ready for like the earthquake that the eruption from the Garden is going to cause when he makes his first 3.
Even just
I can't
during
wait.
team introductions, that pregame is gonna be wild.
Yeah, I want to get ahead of this and try and predict what game he's going to be back for. But I know the second that I put US currency down for a game in March, it's going to come out that he's either not going to come back at all. It's going to be the game before or the game after I get tickets for. I know that's going to happen, but I also know how much more expensive those tickets are going to be the second it gets announced that he's coming back on that day. So I am horrified. I'm also not fast enough to get there before it's sold out.
Yeah, I mean, like this year, it's still this year. Like I was lucky. I just happened to be like in the car on my way to the train station when like I heard on the radio they announced the Chara jersey retirement date, and I like very quickly I was like, let me see what's going on. And I was able to get tickets at like I think $95 each. And then like when I checked back a couple hours later, it was like $250 each. I'm like, thank God I was not actively driving when I heard this, or I would have just had to pull over or something, or I would have just been screwed out of this. Because I haven't been to a Bruins game in like 6 years now. So gonna be nice to do it cost effectively.
Yeah. I still think it's gonna be that game the day after his birthday.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Like I'm so confident that I'm very tempted to buy tickets. Like as we speak, I have it open.
The app open.
I have the app open.
Use
But
the
again,
code Our Back Report.
Won't tell you which app because I don't want to get flamed when you try it and it doesn't work. But hey, you never know. You never know.
Special episode go live from TD Garden for Jason's return. I mean,
Hey, why not? Why not? I really do. I really am excited for that. Like people keep. It's weird because it's like everyone talks about it like it's going to happen, and then randomly somebody has to like dump, water, like rain on my parade and be like, no, it's definitely not going to happen. And it makes me sad. It's like the one person telling me it's not going to happen outweighs the magnitude of like 500 telling me it's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe it's just creating doubt, and doubt is not to get all philosophical. But anyway, let's move on. any final thoughts on the Jazz game?
I mean, it would be good. I feel like we kind of said, but just have this be the start for Derek when it's more consistent, and kind of that jumping point would be a good thing to see.
For sure. All right. So I messaged you guys earlier and said that I had a question I wanted to pose in the chat. That I thought would be an interesting discussion that we could have. So Shams Charania announced yesterday, I guess 2 days ago for the people listening, that Nikola Jokic is going to be out for at least the next 4 weeks. So I did the math. If he misses 4 weeks and doesn't miss another game outside of these 4 weeks, he'll have played 67 games this season. If he misses 5 weeks, he'll only play 64, so therefore he'd be ineligible to win league MVP. Are people tired of the Oklahoma City Thunder enough for Jaylen Brown to have a legitimate MVP case if that happens?
I mean, I feel like I would give Jalen votes just because he's like, I feel like there's so many questions right going into the year. Can he actually carry them? Can he be kind of like the leader with Tatum out? And I feel like he's answered all those. I mean, you just brought up the 10 straight games with 30 points. I mean, I would be tired enough for that conversation. I feel like Brown's played really well considering all the factors added in, and especially for a team that some people counted out without Tatum, like their top 5 team in the East. And I feel like if you're an MVP, like you raise your team to a higher standard like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how they stack up against each other. And obviously, Shea is beating him in pretty much every category, honestly. But they're close in most of these. Like, Jaylen, or they're only he only trails SGA by 2 points, 1 assist, although SGA is probably more ball dominant because the Celtics have 3 ball dominant guards on the floor at all times with Jaylen. Field goal percentage, they're close enough, especially considering Jaylen is more of a mid-range shooter. Blocks per game, they're about the same. Steals per game, they're about the same. And people love to throw nuance in there. And not to take a shot at Jaylen here, but it's not like he doesn't have precedent for winning awards that he wasn't the best player for. Like, because I got to be honest, Tatum deserved Finals MVP over him. That's going to be, like, I'll die on that hill. Like, Tatum statted him in everything in that Finals. But Jaylen guarded Luka.
So did Sam Hauser.
So did Sam Hauser. You said that, not me. You said that, not me. But
Sam Hauser clamping Luka in the Finals was maybe the funniest subplot of the whole thing.
Also, probably the most glaring evidence that a Mavericks fan needed that Luka was very clearly not 100% for that series. But what do you think, Jack? Do you like, how real is it an opportunity for Jaylen to win league MVP if Jokic becomes ineligible to win it?
I mean, it obviously would help. I still don't. I put it at best 5%, and that could be generous. I just think, it's going to depend on, obviously, you can't predict how things are going to go. If Tatum comes back, that's only going to hurt probably, even though obviously you're not going to get 100% Tatum, but the narrative will kind of shift a little probably, especially if they do finish strong and it's like, oh, see, they are better once Tatum comes back. But like, if Tatum doesn't come back and the Celtics still manage to be like a top 3 seed and Jaylen keeps scoring this well and keeping the efficiency in check, is it, feasible? Yes. I still think, barring an injury, it just becomes Shea, especially because he still only has 1. If SGA had like gone back to back the past 2 years, then I could like maybe talk myself into they're not going to want him to three-peat, because that was the whole thing with Jokic and why they gave Embiid the charity MVP and the Make-A-Wish MVP, whatever you want to call it. Like it was one of the most fraudulent things I've ever seen. But I think it just goes to SGA if Jokic can't play, and maybe even if Jokic can, if he gets penalized for this time being missed, or if, they free fall in the standings and aren't able to recover in this time, because it's Jamal Murray in a dream at this point. They lack the rest of their starting lineup at this point. There's no Aaron Gordon. There's no Christian Brown. There's no Cam Johnson. This is Jamal Murray and Bruce Brown and Valanciunas and hoping for the best. And in the Western Conference, I don't know how many wins that's going to get over the span of a month. But, I mean, it's possible. I also just think if something happens to SGA that would either hurt his, either statistically he falls off a cliff or he gets hurt, I think they're going to want to give it to Brunson is the thing. That's where my head goes, especially if the Knicks lock up the 1 seed and, it's the Knicks, it's New York, it's this whole thing, and the media loves Brunson. I think, to me, after SGA, which I still think, it's highly likely if Jokic doesn't, it's SGA, especially assuming OKC, has an absurd amount of wins. I think Brunson would be next in line.
That makes me sad. Because I'm looking at them side by side here. It's just Jaylen and just the 2 Jaylens here.
Yeah.
And Brown's just been so much better than Brunson on a conceivably worse team. Again, I love Derek White, but I think there's a sizable gap in skill level gap between him and Karl Anthony Towns. And if you want to throw McHale in there, there's an argument to be made that McHale's also better than Derek White.
Could also argue OG.
Could also argue OG Anunoby's better than Derek White. And Jaylen's outscoring, out-rebounding, out-stealing, out-blocking, shooting more efficiently across the board than Jaylen Brunson. The statistical gap between Brunson and Brown is about as glaring as the gap between Jaylen and SGA. But again, I feel like the guy that always gets the narrative swung in his favor, the pendulum swung in his favor, is always Jaylen Brown, which is why I think we've been doing this with Tatum playing for years. I shouldn't say we, but the national media has been constantly saying that he's the best player on the Celtics. So wouldn't the national media also want to play a hand in that narrative with, Jason came back in March and the Celtics got better, but still Jaylen's team. This only reassures that Jason Tatum is better as a role player or as a number 2 second fiddle to Jaylen Brown. Look at how much better the Jaylen Brown led Celtics are. And I guess it also depends how it looks. If it clearly goes back to Tatum's team when he comes back and they take off.
The more you keep saying this, the more Tatum's admiration of Kobe only makes all of this even worse, because these are all the anti-Kobe arguments now being thrown at Tatum, and I don't think that's at all what he aspired for in that, to have Jaylen Brown considered his Shaq.
But this has been what the media has been doing for years now. It's not the only reason that it's more apparent now is because Tatum's out and they're winning games and Jaylen's playing awesome. He's playing the best ball of his career. So I think if Jokic, I think it becomes a closer race. I still think they would give it to SGA, but I think it's a much closer race than you'd think. If you looked at just the numbers, because there's something about Jaylen Brown, and I'm not trying to say he's some asshole, but there's something about him that's super endearing to the media, where they just love to give him credit. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve credit, but they love to give him credit, arguably more than he deserves. And I think that the MVP race will also showcase that, especially if Jokic isn't involved. If Jokic is eligible, assuming when he comes back, he doesn't also crater his production, he should probably still win it unanimously. And if not unanimously, a few votes go to SGA. But if it's between SGA and Jaylen, I think that Jaylen's going to steal, I don't know how many total votes there are. He'll get a larger than you would think's contingent of first place votes for MVP.
What if say Jokic, or what would you say like if he isn't eligible? Where would you say Brown rates or finishes in that voting?
I'd probably put him second, because I think that number one becomes in a lot of ways like we've decided that and I think it's the right thing to do. Like for baseball, it's the WAR award. Like you lead the league in WAR, you're going to win MVP. I think it's in a lot of ways very similar for basketball. Like you score the most points and the rest of your numbers fall in line and aren't like you're not Andrew Wiggins. You'll probably win MVP. But I think when it comes to like finishing second, that's where all the nuance is. Because like nobody, like I don't think enough people are gonna be like, yeah, Jaylen Brown deserves it plus fuck SGA. Like he's an unethical hooper. Like nobody's gonna say that shit. Like nobody that's not like chronically online is going to use that case to vote for Jaylen Brown. But a lot of people will use that case to vote for him over Jalen Brunson. And I think enough people will vote for him for first place where he gets enough points in that voting system to come in second. Like I'd probably put it, if we're removing Jokic entirely, it'd be SGA, Jaylen Brown, Brunson, Luka, and then I don't know if like
Cade?
I mean Cade maybe. I don't know, it's tough.
Wemby.
Who?
Wemby, if he
Wemby.
Yeah.
Wemby, I'd probably put Wemby over Luka because I think the league is already hungry for Wemby to surpass Luka. Maybe I'd even put Wemby over Brunson. So I'd go SGA, Brown, Wemby, Brunson, Luka. Because the media's already started to call him fat again. So like Luka's not going to come close to winning that. So
That's how you know it's going downhill for him.
yeah, once Luka starts getting called fat, it's over for him. It really is. The Lakers are a mess, by the way.
If they actually end up having to trade Austin Reeves, it will be the funniest thing ever. Because I've seen like they might have to, and that would be like a disaster class. Because Austin Reeves is now suddenly like a top 20 in the world player, which I never thought that would happen, but he is. And I mean, every team should be lining up packages to make that happen if they can.
Yeah. I wonder where he'd go. I mean, like again, he doesn't defend, and that's like the big thing for the Lakers is Luka doesn't defend, Austin Reeves doesn't defend, and LeBron really can't defend anymore. Like he's old and like his body is old. Like he's got fucking sciatica and arthritis. Like that dude is so it's ridiculous. But like what team like that like you need to be a two-way player? Is that where like OKC is throwing draft capital to get Austin Reeves because they need more shooting? Like that seems to be kind of their Achilles heel is they don't shoot consistently enough. Are they sending Caruso back to the Lakers with draft picks for Austin Reeves? I don't know if that works financially. I don't think it does, but it'd probably be Caruso and someone else and whatever. But
Anthony Simons for
I support it.
Reeves.
I think the point is the Lakers want defense. They can just start Marcus Smart.
We can convince them. We can have
He's
Anthony
trying.
play really hard on defense against the Lakers.
Yeah.
And then be like, guys.
Just the game plan that night is all going to be around.
Austin Reeves to Dallas for Anthony Davis. It's interesting. I've also seen some discourse that JJ Redick should be on the hot seat. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if like I don't really think he's the problem over there. Like they can't defend. That's not his fault. They're just
I agree on the personnel stuff. I do think like if for someone who works in the media doesn't like feel media trained, and in LA and with the Lakers, that can like put you under more pressure because when you're like saying things that the media and the fan base it's not clicking for them, then like that, it's like Boston, where like that external hot seat is gonna just rise and rise and rise. The same way like Missoula's first year, people are like, you need an experienced coach and all that. And I understand, there were definitely some, flaws during year one of Missoula. But like anyone who actually wanted him fired, it's like, no, he's put in a near impossible situation and done pretty well. I honestly don't watch the Lakers enough to know like how good of an X's and O's guy Redick is, but I definitely have seen enough of his like post game pressers to know that that could be what's drawing some ire from the fans.
I think it's difficult for him, especially because when he was media, he was constantly getting paraded around as this like basketball genius. And I'm not saying he's not, but like I think he still expects that to be his saving grace. Is just like, well, it can't be JJ Redick because he's a genius. And when you're the coach of a team, especially the Lakers, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. Like if he was coaching the Jazz,
Phil Jackson.
yeah. But I mean, the Lakers, I mean, he left, like, they parted ways eventually too. I mean, they still won with him. So, but like, I don't know, like, JJ's not going to get that kind of grace with the Lakers. It's not like he's coaching the Raptors or the Jazz. Like if he was in Will Hardy's position, it'd be like, oh, well, watch out when this team is, because that's the thing I've been seeing is like JJ Redick. Imagine if he had a young team that he could mold. And it's like, well, all those teams have already hired their young coaches. Like the Hornets have Charles Lee. So it's like, that's kind of the team that a lot of people are mentioning. But like, I don't know. But he's talked about ad nauseum when he was media, like what makes winning basketball. And it's just not the Lakers. Like the roster they have is so flawed compared to like his logic, like his perception of winning basketball. And it's like, I really do think, and this isn't just me clip farming here, I think there's a chance they trade LeBron.
Who would you
really
say?
do.
Who would you say he'd get would be in that discussions?
The last stand of the Golden State Warriors.
That'd be a great Netflix.
In theory, like that wouldn't be all. Like okay, so I'm not gonna try and like make a trade package on the fly, but like it seems to me like there's one thing JJ Redick loves, it's defense. If there's one person in Golden State that absolutely hates being a Golden State Warrior right now, it's Draymond Green. But JJ Redick and Draymond Green really like each other. So like I feel like that's something that could work out. If we're talking framework, I could see those two being in the same trade. I think the usual suspects kind of still exist when it comes to LeBron. Like I think it's the Lakers, or not the Lakers. I think it's the Cavs. I think it's the Heat. I think it's the Knicks. And like that's really it for him. I can't even think of another Western Conference team that would be like, yeah, we need LeBron James. Unless you're like a bubble team.
Could you maybe, just because the salaries match, could you talk yourself into a Jimmy Butler LeBron thing? Like, is that an actual thing that could, just because it's easy, the salaries are like the exact same.
Would the Warriors even want to do that? Because I think Jimmy's still good enough to, and again, like you still have to deal with the fact LeBron's body is like failing him now. Like are you even sure that he can play every single game in the playoffs? I'm not. Like this man's got sciatica and arthritis. I'm not just saying that to make him sound older than he is. Like he literally has those two problems.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just throwing it out there because the money works. But yeah, I think Draymond, Kuminga, and then like some small contract does get you there. And I know Kuminga wants his way out of there too. He is also unhappy as a Golden State Warrior. So
Yeah, and then I think the Lakers too, because the one thing that the Lakers are always good at, it's being very creative. Like they find, I mean, sometimes they just get thrown the lifeline of Doncic being quietly shopped only to LA. But like they were able to a couple years ago, kind of pull a rabbit out of their hat and get Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt. Like they were able to somehow snag a few good players at the deadline despite having no tradable assets. Somehow. I could totally see them kind of doing what the Cavs did back in 17-18, or was it 16-17, where they traded their entire bench essentially and got Rodney Hood, fucking who else? J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver, and suddenly they, were winning games by 30 instead of losing games by 15. I could totally see the Lakers doing that again, especially if they trade LeBron and they were able to get like Draymond and Kuminga back, which by the way, like Lakers Draymond is going to be like Celtic Shaq. But then they could trade Rui and get somebody that's like actually a good, like winning player, or get another big like that they could factor in. Maybe they trade for Zubac. They get Zubac back. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm not trying to fix the Lakers, but
the only Miami move you can make financially that's not like stupid, because obviously they're not trading Bam for LeBron. That's not happening.
Oh no, it seems to always work out for the Lakers that way, where they trade the old injured player for young star.
Yeah, you can't really make a move work without including the contract of Terry Rozier, which like I don't know what the fuck is going on with the contract.
I
of Terry
mean,
Rozier.
his betting might go up.
Yeah, like the only move you can make.
What are the optics of trading Terry Rozier to the Crypto.com arena team?
I mean, he'd probably be like, he'd set records on that for that team.
Yeah, I think the only thing more ironic would be him getting traded to the Footprint Center, because they've got like a shit ton of live betting, like sports books right around the arena. That'd probably be the only thing more ironic. But I don't know. I mean, I just threw out a bunch of teams that like I feel like are always kicking around on LeBron when it's like quietly reported that he might get traded. Hey, maybe LeBron gets traded to Dallas for AD. I'm just trying to put AD back on the Lakers. It's kind of the more so to get rid of that thought that he might come to Boston. Not really the thought, but like
that one for one swap works money wise.
True.
Hey, I'm just saying.
I can't wait for our episode about.
And then you get LeBron and Kyrie again out of it.
Oh my god! Oh. Wait! I feel. Oh my god! Please let this happen. Dude, the clips we're gonna drop in like 2 months when LeBron and Kyrie are teammates on the Mavs, AD's back on the Lakers. They somehow also have like another star that they got from seemingly out of nowhere. Maybe they trade Austin Reeves for that other star that can defend. And then freaking Isaiah Thomas gets signed by the Celtics. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. You never know. You never know. Last thing I do want to talk about, just because I mentioned that we may talk about it later, and I don't want to be a liar. Apparently, Trae Young is like going to get traded. It's like growing increasingly likely that he will get moved. Kind of in the same vein as like the LeBron thing, where this was talked about before they traded for De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
But Trae Young and Wemby would be like ridiculous. And I still think like San Antonio would make a lot of sense for Trae Young. Even like they could use De'Aaron Fox as like a big salary in that deal, send him to
Is that
Atlanta.
even an upgrade though?
Well, I think from a floor spacing standpoint, it is, because Trae Young is a much better shooter than De'Aaron Fox, or at least has more range than him. And I think,
but he's also terrible defensively.
That is true, and he's not as quick. And I think like De'Aaron Fox being able to go coast to coast in like at the blink of an eye is something that is appealing, especially with a young team. It's so difficult the way that trades have to work in the NBA. It's so difficult for like any star player to get moved, but like yet every year it's like 5 or 6 stars are going to get traded. And it's like then they can really only get dealt for each other. Like I don't know, where do you think Trae Young could end up, Jack?
I don't know. And it's funny because I was talking about this a few weeks ago where it's like they were kind of going on a heater without Trae Young. And it's like, I don't know if he is going to fit into this thing long term. And it's weird because it's obviously going to depend on what you get back. Because the thing is, at the same time, I don't think this Atlanta team has the firepower to actually like win without Trae Young. Even though like I get he doesn't fit into the defense and athleticism thing they have going on. Like outside of Jalen Johnson, there isn't and I know Nickeil Alexander-Walker is having like a career year at the moment. He's averaging over 20 a game, which good for him. I've always liked the player, but I kind of always thought he was like a 14, 15 point per game guy, not this. And maybe it'll come crashing back down. Who knows? But it's hard to figure out a spot for Trae that makes sense because I don't see a lot of contenders that need small guards who are bad on defense, but like he has his strengths obviously as a shooter, as a ball handler. Like I almost wonder if like the fit is more like a rebuilding team that like wants him as like the anchor to what they're doing. But even that, I'm like, is this the next Sacramento Kings experiment? Is this fucking Trae Young? Like, who's to say it's not? I think Orlando's an interesting fit. I don't know how you'd make the money work in Orlando because
Do you bail on Desmond Bane immediately? Like that would probably be like because he's their highest paid player, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you piecemeal together some other salaries. I like your point there because it's kind of like De'Aaron Fox getting traded to San Antonio. It's like that team that's like maybe a year or two away from like seriously making some noise makes that trade. But then it's like who?
Yeah.
Like who does that? Is it Brooklyn?
Yeah.
What about
In terms of
Minnesota?
contending teams, the only
Minnesota?
team Minnesota's like the one contending team.
They've got the defenders around, but would you have to trade those defenders to get Trae Young?
Right, because you're not trading Ant, obviously, and you're not getting like gifted off the Gobert contract. So like I don't know what the framework would even look like to make the money work. You're definitely going to have to include McDaniels in a deal. You're probably also including Naz Reid. And then that money actually is exactly right. McDaniels and Naz Reid gets you to Trae Young. And it's like, is Minnesota still good enough with, what they still have left with kind of just Dante DiVincenzo and a bunch of young players or really old players as the depth behind Trae, Ant, Gobert, and Randall? Maybe.
What about Giannis?
Bye.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because they don't really have. I mean, they probably wouldn't do that. The Bucks, at least, because it's like I feel like if you're going to trade Giannis, we're going full scale rebuild here. You want to get a bunch of assets back, not Trae Young, especially because he's already like almost 30, right? So like it really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But like again, like that's the difficulty of making these trades work in the NBA is like salary wise, it really becomes two really good parts of a team. So like the reason you would trade for Trae Young as a contender is you have the pieces you need a guy like Trae Young to put you over the top. But then when you trade for Trae Young, now you need those two pieces that you traded for Trae Young to put you over the top.
And now you need to get them on the buyout market or on like
then you're signing Torrey Craig and hoping he turns into Jaden McDaniels, and that's just not going to happen. I don't even know if Torrey Craig is like still an active NBA player. You bring in O'Shea Brissett back from freaking overseas to be your Jaden McDaniels replacement. Isaiah Thomas. Hey, you never know.
Could be the next Naz Reid.
He's made it. Yeah. If Naz Reid played on his knees.
Just slight adjustment.
Slight adjustment there, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like
Naz Reid and Nikhil could like reunite in Atlanta.
they
The
could.
Minnesota bench mob getting back together.
Yeah. I don't know who else really makes any sense for
I've seen people say
Trae.
Dallas in like an AD Trae thing.
It's always AD.
It is always AD. And I don't think that makes a ton of sense for either team, really. Like, because you can't really do Trae and Kyrie like that.
That would be wild. Just straight up 1-for-1.
That would be insane.
And then like AD doesn't play a lot of basketball, so I don't know if Atlanta wants someone who doesn't play a lot of basketball. But
Hang on,
that's
I just came up with an idea.
Is like an AD for Trae thing.
I just came up with an idea. I want to see if it works real quick before I
Could Cleveland's punt on Garland and do like Garland and DeAndre Hunter for Trae?
I could see that. I mean, they need to do something over there because Garland's also a guy who doesn't really play a lot of basketball, which is really harmful to their winning weight, their desire to win basketball games.
And then they get DeAndre Hunter back out of it. And then like I don't think Garland is a massive drop off. And obviously you would get assets in addition. You're probably getting a pick or two in addition to Garland and Hunter. Like I think that's something that could, and I think money-wise that would work. I don't have it in front of me, but I think that should work anyways. Let me see if it does.
I went down the rabbit hole.
Oh no, it doesn't. You would basically have to 1-for-1 swap Garland and Hunter with like a small contract. So lose a small contract on Cleveland. Larry Nance Jr. Perfect.
There we go.
So it'd be Garland and Larry Nance Jr. You'd have to include way more picks now that DeAndre Hunter is not involved in this deal. But I think it's something that is not impossible because Garland and Cleveland seem like they are at a crossroads.
What were you about to say, Jamie?
I went down a rabbit hole on Sports Illustrated, and one thing that I had was Rudy Gobert, Conley, and Rob Dillingham for Trae Young. This was one of their mock deals for the Timberwolves. What do you guys think about that situation?
I forgot that Mike Conley is still an actual NBA player. But I could be down for that.
I think that only works for Atlanta if they're not expecting Kristaps to contribute because of the pots. And if like they deem that to actually be what's going to go down, I could see that trade making sense. But like if they are expecting Kristaps to play basketball this year and to be good at basketball, I don't think adding Gobert into an already kind of crowded room with Okongwu and Porzingis and like Jalen Johnson is mainly a power forward. And I know positions aren't real anyways, but like that's a lot of like tall guys who like, granted, all of them are athletic and can shoot besides Gobert. But like, I don't know if they'd want to throw Gobert into that. I do think like a Naz Reid thing does kind of fit into what they have better. But it's possible.
I'm trying to make a trade work here with Chicago. I've got it to work here, but I don't know if the Hawks would do it. Maybe with draft picks included, maybe. But Vucevic and Kevin Huerter gets you to Trae Young. I was trying to find some way to get Kobe White in there, but there's too much of a gap in salary between Huerter and Kobe White to make that work. At least from then you'd have to trade 3 players if you did White, Huerter, and Vucevic. You'd have to trade 2 players back to Atlanta, and I don't know exactly who. Maybe I don't know. You don't want to really. Let me see. Give me one sec here. I'm trying to find a way to make this shit work. Maybe it's Luke Kennard gets there as well. That works. Vucevic, Herter, and Kobe White to the Bulls. Sorry, to the Hawks for Trae Young and Luke Kennard. That works. And then you obviously have draft capital going back to Atlanta. That works. I mean, then you get Giddey and Trae Young, but I don't really think that wouldn't work. I think Giddey, I guess they both love to pass the ball a shit ton, but like Giddey's more of I wouldn't say he's more of an outside like perimeter player. I think he's better getting downhill, and Trae Young's better at the perimeter, obviously, because he's 4 feet tall. But this also, like when you said that this is a Sacramento Kings kind of deal, the next team that went into my brain was the Chicago Bulls, because it's
Sacramento East.
Because you go to Chicago, you just have early onset Sacramento. And it's like Trae Young, if he's going to ever be a Sacramento King, he must first be a Chicago Bull.
It's life's great truth.
I love how we have a breakdown of the stages that it goes through.
Yeah. Early onset Sacramento King is
signing a max contract with the Chicago Bulls.
If you're an NBA player, it's like one of the worst things you can catch.
I wonder what
will be lit at what cost.
I really do wonder what goes through people's minds when they end up with the Bulls. Like, do you think they're in on the bit where they know that at some point they have to play for the Kings? Like when Boutselis got drafted last year. Yeah, like when Boutselis got drafted last year, do you think his mind immediately went to, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to be a Sacramento King? Like, I think that's possible.
You go to the family, hey, how do you feel about possibly living in Sacramento within the next 5 years?
Okay, so my rookie contract's up in 4 years. So 6 years from now, because I'll get my max deal with the Bulls, and then I'll be a Sacramento King. That's how it works. Also, I didn't even realize the Warriors are playing literally right now. So that's fun. But anyway. Any final thoughts? Do we want to do this whole song and dance again for LaMelo Ball?
Wait, actually, it would never happen because like Golden State would never do it because of like, merch and tickets and stuff. But like Steph Curry for Trae Young, like
that'd be wild.
I think they would trade everything to get Trae Young to be Steph's replacement.
Yeah.
But they would keep them both and like have this year be ridiculous and then next year.
Well, that's what they should have done when they should have just drafted LaMelo. Like it was so clearly like just add LaMelo and you can develop him alongside.
And then get rid of Clay before he was washed.
Yeah. Like I never got the Wiseman pick. And I know that draft was weird because COVID, but like LaMelo to me was like kind of clearly exactly what the Warriors like in a player. And so when they were like, nah, we're good, it was always bizarre to me.
Yeah. Because that was the year Ant got drafted, right? He was number one. And
Halliburton.
I felt like the consensus that year was almost that because I thought going into that draft, or at least before everything got shut down, people thought Wiseman was going to go number one.
People were like, that whole top three, no one knew the order they were going to go between Wiseman, Ant, and LaMelo. Like everybody, like every mock was different what order those three guys were going to go.
Yeah. And then it was like once Wiseman was there at 2, or maybe they were like, we're going to take Ant or Wiseman. And then when Minnesota took Ant, they were like, guess it's Wiseman. And they just sent in the ticket. I don't know. It's weird. They didn't get as much, like you said, because of COVID. There wasn't as much film on these guys as they would have otherwise hoped. I think a deal involving Trae Young or LaMelo in a lot of weird ways probably is like a 3 or 4 team deal, and they're both in it.
It's possible.
And it just gets really weird, and they both end up on contenders somehow. But or in a weird way, I could see the Hornets going the route of wanting Trae Young if they were going to trade LaMelo, because it's like somebody that, I mean, this year he's hurt, but like typically somebody who actually plays basketball consistently is Trae Young, has a postseason resume, and they obviously they seem to have hit on every draft pick they had this past year. But I don't know. I mean, does Atlanta want LaMelo?
Yeah.
I mean, if I were trading Trae Young and I could get LaMelo, I'd probably do it, but I don't know.
Does Milwaukee not do Giannis and like try and get Atlanta super drunk and take Miles Turner and Kyle Kuzma for Trae Young and try and beg Giannis, look, we got you a Trae Young, you should stay?
I think Giannis is done there. I think they've already attempted that, and that's how they got Damian Lillard.
Well, totally, but they could get him, but even smaller this time.
Because they got Portland so hammered that they openly said they would not trade Dame to Miami.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, him getting completely fucked in that deal and then still being like, I'll go back there just so he didn't sign with the Celtics is insane to me. Like, he is so anti-Boston that he went back to Portland after that whole fiasco. But anyway, that's a different day's discussion. I don't want to. We already spent 40 minutes talking about Jokic, then trading LeBron, and then trading Trae Young, and a little bit of LaMelo, and Jamie's got to go to dinner, so.
This is getting me more prepped up for the episode we have around the trade deadline, because that, based off today, that's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, we're gonna have an episode around the deadline where we talk about the games for like 4 seconds, and then it's all trade speculation. It's just 8 hours of playing 2K and concocting the biggest war crimes you've ever seen in the trade simulator, and see what we can put together. But I don't know. The LeBron for Draymond Green concept is going to live in my brain rent free until it either happens or doesn't. But we'll see. I got to come up with a hot take for a next episode. I've had Isaiah Thomas back to the Celtics and LeBron getting traded in consecutive episodes. So I gotta keep this going into 2026.
I've got one last crackhead one before we stop.
Sweet. Let's
the
go.
Money works. The dead corpse of Fred VanVleet.
The dead corpse.
Dorian Finney-Smith and Tari Eason on an expiring deal. He'll get like a rookie extension for Trae Young. The money works, and Houston's defense can make it work. And you don't have to give up Şengün. You're obviously not trading Kevin Durant. You keep Amen Thompson. You keep Reed Shepherd.
Hey.
I support it.
But I think the Hawks would want Reed Shepherd.
It's possible. And how much is Reed Shepherd making? He's at $10 million, which makes him hard to fit into. Well, I guess you could take DFS out, and then you'd need someone making. Does JD Davison fix this deal?
JD Davison becoming a subplot in the deal for Trae Young after all this would be ridiculous.
No, but Tyler Smith does. So if you do,
I don't even know who that is.
I don't either. But you can do VanVleet, Shepherd, Eason, Tyler Smith for Trae Young. That money works.
Tyler Smith searches are about to skyrocket once this episode is posted.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to Google who this man is. So, but yeah, it's weird because it's like there's a lot of interesting possibilities for Trae specifically, but like making it work, like this is why these trades often are like 3 or 4 teams, because like the Luka trade, Utah was involved for like no reason, but they were involved. So like Utah will definitely somehow be involved in a Trae Young deal. They'll probably find a way to be involved in a Giannis deal. The Giannis deal probably won't be till the offseason, but they'll find a way to be a third team in there. They're the Jerry, like Danny Ainge is the Jerry Dipoto of the NBA, where he's like, trade happening, I need to be somewhere in the vicinity of this deal. I swear he just does it so he can be like a fly on the wall of these negotiations. And he's like, yeah, you want to trade freaking Jordan Hood Schifino or Jalen Hood Schifino, whatever the fuck that guy's name is. Yeah, I'll take him just to make the salary work because I love chaos. That's Danny Ainge. That is Danny Ainge. And he'll somehow wind up with like Marcus Smart back. And then buy him out and he'll come back to Boston. Anyway, so Marcus Smart and Isaiah Thomas are coming back to the Celtics.
What's Avery Bradley up to?
Can we get Rondo too to finish it off?
The whole bench is just like 37-year-old guards.
They haven't played for the Celtics since Obama was president.
And 50-year-old Ray Allen.
Sprinkling KG to have someone tall.
Bring back KG, yeah.
Every team's bench in the playoffs should have to be like retired franchise legends.
Can we throw Glenn Davis in there just for fun?
Get him out of prison.
Free Big Baby.
No, don't do that. Isn't he in jail for like insurance fraud?
Yeah.
That's why him and Terry Rozier would be such friends.
Keep him there. Can we do like a Russian arms deal like we did for Brittany Griner, but we send Brett Favre to prison and get Glenn Davis out of there?
Oh, I do that in a heartbeat.
Oh, me too, for sure. For sure. Glenn Davis's existence has brought me way more happiness than Brett Favre's. Because not only did Glenn Davis deliver a ring and a postseason game winner, but he also brought me Brandon Bass. And like, I will never say a bad thing about Brandon Bass. That's that, I think.
I think that's our best trade or grocery construction today, right there.
Yeah, that's going to be a bullet point. Russian arms deal for Glenn Davis.
That could be the other big we pair with Garza.
With Garza? Where's Nemi going?
Well, no, Nemi's the starter.
Oh, you mean backup?
Like,
yeah.
Our bench platoon of Garza Big Baby.
God. What do you think he's pushing right now? Like 4 bills as far as his weight goes? He was not in shape the last like 4 years he was in the NBA. I mean, he wasn't in shape the first 4 years he was in the NBA either. Anyway. What?
I think he might have like a podcast or something. Oh no, he hasn't
From
posted
prison?
He hasn't posted since January. So that might have been the pre-prison pod. No, he was posting on Instagram because he was sentenced in May of 24 and he was posting in January of 25. So what was posting prison pods?
Hey, you gotta get the views in somehow, right? You gotta stay dedicated to the.
You gotta keep the account active. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
this all happened at the like hour 25 moment too. We didn't even need to get to an hour.
This is why we typically keep an episode to an hour 15 because once we get past there, it's like an episode after.
Yeah, we got the Frozen.
Yeah, and my Wi-Fi gives out. We're back. Am I back?
You're back.
You are back.
I'm back, but Jack is still the circle.
Oh
I can't see him.
I'm like
anyway, is he talking?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay.
He's taking in what's going on.
Okay. I am gonna wrap this up so that way nothing ridiculous happens.
We gotta make picks.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Hope you boys. Oh, he's back now. Hello.
Yeah, we gotta make picks.
Oh, that's right. Good point. Oh my God.
That's what happens when we talk about Glenn Davis.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My brain went to mush the second we started talking about Glenn Davis. Really way before that, but that's beside the point. Let me pull the schedule back up. I do this every episode where we recap the games and then I X out of the tab with the schedule. And then we go to do picks. And I'm like, oh, I got to get the schedule back up. I need to just stop doing that.
At least it's not like on pesky when you need the probable starters. Like at least
Yeah, that's even worse. That is even worse. Yeah. Okay. After all this, the Celtics' next game is against the Sacramento Kings.
light the beam.
And in this 3-game stretch, they play the Bulls too. This is fantastic. This is awesome.
Yeah, the Clippers.
I love it. And the Clippers. Oh my God. This was the episode that we needed to go into the 2026 calendar year. All right. So West Coast road trip concludes with the Kings on New Year's Day at 10 p.m. Fun. Saturday at 10:30 p.m. against the Clippers. And then back home on Monday, January 5th, against the Chicago Bulls, against the future team of Trae Young. And then so they play 2 future Trae Young teams in the next. Actually, when Trae Young is 40, he'll probably be a Clipper. So all 3 of these teams will end up being Trae Young employers
until they send him home.
until they send him home. Well, no, actually, I guess you're right. Yeah, they'll send him home at 40 because he wants to win. I don't know. That whole situation still Chris Paul, not to go back down this rabbit hole. Chris Paul being in a trade at some point this season is going to happen. Is Chris Paul traded for Terry Rozier? Do the Clippers hate Chris Paul that much that they will trade for a potentially like convicted felon?
Well, Chris Paul isn't making that much money, right?
Yeah. I don't think they hate him that much. I feel like that's the line that they might.
Yeah.
But they hate him so much they'd send him to play for Eric Spoelstra, which would actually be a reward. And he gets to go to Miami, so he gets to retire in Miami like all olds in America want to do.
He can hang out with D Wade.
Yeah. Actually, this might work. Anyway, Jamie. Celtics are 20-12 right now. With these 3 games coming up, where are they record-wise when we reconvene?
I feel like 23-12. I feel like these are 3. Even though we've talked more about the Kings than I think I've ever talked about in my life, you have to beat the Kings. What's left of Chris Paul and his cohorts, I feel like that's an easy 3-0. I feel like the Bulls will be the closest game on that stretch, but I feel like those are 3 games they should win single-handedly.
Well, Denver game will also happen before we record, right? Because it will probably be post-Denver game.
Are we going to – oh, yeah, good point. So I guess 4 games.
Yeah.
So then we also get the Denver game with no Jokic or anybody else.
Except Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray in a dream. But Jamal Murray also a dude who could 100% score 50 in that game. And probably will.
4-0. I'm still staying with
24-12. Jack, what do you think?
I'm also going to go 4-0. If Jokic was playing, I'd have them lose the Denver game because I fear that giant monstrous man. But I'm not too worried about that game without him and without any of their players, even though Murray can totally pop, and that's how they lose that game, unless it's like Bruce Brown legacy game or something. And then the Bulls at TD Garden, I'm not freaking out about them. We also don't even know at this point Giddey is going to be out because he's going to miss, I think, like 3 weeks, they said. So it's no Josh Giddey, and Kobe White's missed the last few games. So if they have no Giddey and no Kobe White, like they're especially beatable. Yeah. So I'm not worried about them. Sacramento's a fake team. They're going to roll in. The beam will not be lit tomorrow night. If anything, the Clippers are honestly the game that I think is the most losable because it's on the road and it's a late night, 10:30 Eastern Coast time. And I know they've been on the West Coast for a while, but that's still like a late time to be playing basketball. And Kawhi went nuclear in his last few games. He's like dropping like 30 to 50 every single night over the past stretch. And if he keeps doing that, that's going to be hard to beat. So I'm going to say 4-0, but if they're going to lose one, it's going to be the Clippers game.
I'm going to go 3-1 with that exact logic. I think they end up losing the Clippers game because because they'll have to contest with, Zubac is hurt, so they won't have to deal with him, right? Or did I? Yeah, so that isn't part of the equation, but Harden, Kawhi Leonard, that's those two are tough to go up against, especially when they're both playing at a high level, which they are. But yeah, I don't fear the Nuggets with their injury issues. I don't fear the Bulls in general, and I don't fear the late stage
The West
of
Coast Bulls.
the West Coast Bulls. That is the Sacramento Kings. So I got them at 3-1. So you guys have them at 24-12 when we reconvene. I have them at 23-13. Anyway, that will do it for this edition of the Hour Back Report. I hope you boys have a fantastic New Year's. Be safe. I'm going to be at my house. I am absolutely not going out. I did that once.
But still be safe. Household accidents, you know.
That is true. That is true. I'm going to cook myself dinner, so there is a chance that I could set myself on fire. So hopefully that does not happen. There will be proof of life posted at midnight.
I mean, you could get a personal chef. You could be on your
True.
Stefan Diggs arc.
I think that's the perfect ending right there. Jordan has some thoughts that are being held back.
I could not believe you. I
Tremendously
can't
at the
believe you
moment.
said that. I can't believe you said that. Anyway, we did have to hit on all of our sports. We didn't mention hockey. There we go.
Tusky.
This is going to be a big year for Tusky. I think
Happy New Year. Happy New
26
Year's
is the year of the
Tusky.
Tusky.
Happy New Year's to Tusky for sure, and the Utah Mammoth, who I think are better record wise than the Bruins now, because the Bruins have lost like every game for the last like 3 weeks. but that's
Melka is
incredible.
going to be out for a while now, I saw. So that might send them down.
Tragic. It's awful for us. Huge Utah Mammoth fan over here. But anyway, hope you all have a happy, healthy new year. And here's to bigger and better things in 2026. For Jamie and Jack, I'm Jordan. Until next time, peace out. Go Seas.
We did it.